What's good, world? It's your boy SoundOFF The General, man, and I'm back at it, man, with another story time. We talked about the process, the project that I did with Double D Beats. We talked about the following project, The Calm Before the Storm, and we talked about what went into making that. And now I want to go into transition into what was the reason why I made Songs About K. So this one goes a little deep. Songs About K is about my ex-wife. We ended on bad terms, real bad terms, kind of like a no contact situation. And so with that being said, I had a manic episode in 2021 where I decided to go on live, and during this time, it was like several lives where I'm just, out of body, not myself, saying things that I shouldn't be saying, and I end up making a lot of people upset. And so this is, so not only did I do that, I end up blasting my ex-wife, you know what I'm saying? And so during that time, I said things that were true, but things that were not true, because when you're in a manic episode, you don't always see things in the best light, you know what I'm saying? Or you don't see things for reality. You believe what you believe in your head. You know what I'm saying? And if your head says the sky is red, the sky is red. You know what I'm saying? If it says, you know what I'm saying, the ocean is green, the ocean is green to you. And so I had that situation. So I ended up, threatening my ex over, you know what I'm saying, on social media and stuff like that. And it was one of the worst things that I did, you know what I'm saying, at that time, you know what I'm saying? And I've done a lot of crazy things through mania, but it ended up where that was the cause, the final straw to my wife, where she was like, you know what, it's time to get a divorce kind of situation. And so what was crazy about all of that was that, leading up to that, I had like 2 episodes before that. And each episode, there is a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of sadness, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of sorrow, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm literally, the person that has mania is literally doing things that they would not do, and their family kind of has to sit back and watch. So when me and her separated, something in my mind was just like, man, I gotta make an album, you know what I'm saying? Write her a song, let her know how truly sorry I am, and, possibly win her back, you know what I mean? That was my intentions when I first initially came up with the concept of Songs About K. It was gonna be, 22 songs. It was going to declare my love, and it was going to be, everything that I wanted to say that I never said to her, and I wanted it for it to reach her heart. Well, Songs About K was years in the making. It was like, 3 years in the making. I would write songs, start working on other projects, come back to it, stop, work on other songs, come back to it, you know what I mean? And it just never became the initial idea that I had planned. So eventually it gets to the place where my mindset is starting to shift a little bit, you know what I mean? Time has went by. Do I still love her? At the time, yes, I did. But in the same sense, I'm realizing that, hey, you know what I'm saying, there are some consequences to your decisions that are just final. And they are what they are. You know what I'm saying? So then it shifted into being a process of healing. And so, most of the records from Songs About K, out of the out of the 10 songs, I want to say 7 of them was recorded with Joker Studio here in Little Rock. You know what I'm saying? With KV. You know what I'm saying? Joker Entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Local legend in the community, local legend in the city. You know, for the longest, had the longest running studio for 20 plus years. And so I recorded songs like 222 with him, NASA, Space Cadet, slipped my mind for a second. Doc's Interlude, The Truth, Been Thinking About You, 12 Feet, you know what I'm saying, Brown Sugar. Those songs were recorded at Joker Entertainment, but Joker Studios. So let's talk about the length and matter of the songs, right? So initially it was supposed to be 22, it became 10. One of the reasons it was only 10 songs, and there are more songs sitting in the tuck, I just don't know if I'm going to ever release a chapter 2 or a part 2 to it, because I felt like with it being a healing process for me, you know what I mean, I felt like what I did and what I put out was a good, accurate representation of what I felt and what I thought. And so it was supposed to be 22, now 10, and the reason it ended up being 10 because actually 9 songs were always gonna be about songs about K, but one song wasn't. And the one song that wasn't supposed to make on Songs About K was Alluring. Alluring, it came about because I wrote that for like any woman, you know what I'm saying? Like, to acknowledge her divinity, to acknowledge her godliness, you know, her goddesshood. You know, I thought about a particular woman that is, you know what I'm saying, jazzy, that is, you know, real cool, real laid back, tapped into her spirituality, know who she is, you know, that kind of thing. And so with that being said, I wrote that for every woman. And how it made Songs About K was because I was sitting there and I was like, man, I don't want this project just to be 9 songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the real factor. You know what I mean? I didn't want it to be 9 songs. And I end up, like, man, you know, I used to call my ex-wife Goddess. I used to call her Alluring, you know what I mean? Tell her she was alluring and things of that nature. So I was like, you know what? This would be a good representation for a song that, you know, at the end of the day, at least it may make her feel good. You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing when I made Songs About K, was like, you know, I gave you guys all of the background information that happened, but it wasn't to just be like, oh, here are my business, but it strictly was to tell you what was going on with me making the project. And so when it came to this project, I just wanted her to hear something from me, because the last thing she got from me was some negative stuff. Whether it was me boo-hooing and crying that it's over, that it's done, or, you know what I mean, whether it's me, you know what I'm saying some disheartening things over the internet, you know what I'm saying, making her feel some way. I just wanted to make her feel good, you know what I'm saying, let her know that, like, yes, that happened, but that is not the full accurate representation of how I felt towards you or our relationship. So we start off with Mona Lisa, you know. The first song, before I go into Mona Lisa, the first song that I ever wrote for Songs About K was The Truth. And it was like towards, I'm just now getting out of jail. I'm back in my own apartment now, and I'm taking the breakup hard. And so, I write in there, and that's why you get some notes like, I don't want to kiss another lover, share another cover with another lover. That's like kissing my brother. You know what I mean? Like, I said that because it was like, I know some people take this like that's an odd bar, but it's like simply what I was stating at the time was like, I didn't want nobody else. The only person I wanted was K. And so with that, with that song, with that project, with that song, it was just, kind of like, hey, this is our notebook, watch, we gonna recover. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gon' shake back from this. You know what I'm saying? I remember how I first met you, watching you in Zumba, you know what I'm saying? Like, hypnotized by the way you moving, you know what I'm saying? In which hindsight be on some funny shit. It's kind of like on some Master Roshi pervert shit, but it was just like, it was something about her that just stuck out among all the other women. And so I end up, taking the time, and I wanted to test myself on that song. I wanted to do some singing, but also do some rapping, see how all of that came together. And when I got it, the first original version of Truth, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't my best vocal performance at all, you know what I'm saying? But when I recorded it with Kel, and actually the engineer at the time was another local legend here, Big Keys. He recorded, the song, and he had me like, hey, sing this, and hey, sing that, and add this note, and add that. And I was so appreciative of it because it transformed the song into something different than what I expected. The second song I wrote was Eternity. And with Eternity, it was, to signify like, it feels like since me and you've been apart, it's been an eternity. That's the premise of the song. Like, I use a lot of, because I grew up in a predominantly Christian household. I grew up in a Christian society, you know what I'm saying, here in the Bible Belt in Arkansas. I use a lot of Christian imagery in my songs, talking about, how it's just like I feel like I'm in hell. Feel like this is like, I've been sentenced to hell. I've been sentenced to eternity without you. You know what I'm saying? And that was the reason why I wrote Eternity. And that was like my first full-fledged R&B song by myself, just writing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, up to that point, I've been a rapper. You know what I mean? Like, I had the ability to sing, but just didn't write like that. And it's like, even now I'm still figuring out the process of being an R&B singer as well as a rapper, and knowing how to switch minds and switch modes. But yeah, it's cool though. The next song was Mona Lisa, and that song, I wanted it to be a melodic song. When I first came up with Mona Lisa, I was like, Mona Lisa, oh. But the song, the note I originally had was like, oh. And for some reason, I had it like in my head, like a Jodeci kind of, note in there. And for some reason, when I got to the studio, the only thing I could do was say, oh, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I could do. So it's like, that's how Mona Lisa came out like that, you know what I mean? Like, that was not initially how I was initially planned to perform that, but it just got, and it came out and stuck. I recorded a few of the songs for SongAboutK with Pat B. The Truth, a rapper here, independent rapper within the city. You know what I'm saying? We were real close at one point, but he recorded Mona Lisa, and then, he made the engineer like, hey, I want to add some screw voice, and he did it, you know what I mean? And that's one thing about him, like, when you record with him, you know what I'm saying, he can help you lay out the record the way that you wanted it laid out. You know, like even at the end, the beat for Mona Lisa was a short beat, but we got it to loop back around so the chorus could come in one more time. You know what I mean? But yeah, so Mona Lisa, I wanted to bar it out. I wanted it to be a strong lyrical track, because you know at this time I'm working on my bars. You know, Pat is also kind of like a hip hop teacher, you know what I'm saying, and so he was kind of like, you know, I kind of was writing to impress, you know what I'm saying. And so that's why Mona Lisa is like that, but it's melodic, but it's also lyrical, you know what I'm saying. So just, you know, doing that representation at that time. Now what happens from here is like there goes a break where I don't write any songs about K for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm working on other songs. You know, I mean, your Limit Breakers, your Refuse to Lose, your and there's other songs I still have that I haven't released, but you know, a song called Sauce Like That, or Elevating, Real King Flex, Hell, you know what I'm saying. So I'm focusing on a lot of different songs, and so I give a break to Songs About K, but I got to the point where I was like, man, I'm not even gonna do the project anymore. I was like, man, it's you know, at that time I'm still like on the guise of wanting her to come back, but it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I realized that, you know what I'm saying, too much has happened. And so I'm like, man, I'm not even gonna do it. And so I'm going through a situation in my life that's kind of life threatening, and I'm thinking, you know, well, this might be the end of my life. And the question that came to my mind was, if my life ended the way it's been going today, do I want the only music to be heard from me is what's out already? And I was like, nah. And so I was going through depression. I was coming out of depression. And the first song that came to mind was Been Thinking About You. And that's the song I started writing on. Been thinking about you. Been thinking about you. Been thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you know, it was so crazy, because it was like I've been depressed and I ain't know where it came from. And then it was just like, you know, been thinking about you, been sick about you. And so it's just like, okay, it just started coming to me, and it was just like the truth of where I was at. Like, you know, like I've been fucked up, because I've been thinking about you and don't know how you doing, don't know what's going on. And so I ended up writing that song. And so penned that, went in there, and I think that was one of the most, you know, great experiences, because it was like, you know, I recorded that with Kev, and man, like, you know, he like say you know what I mean, and he like, yeah, you know what I mean, like it was different, like ad-libs and things on Been Thinking About You, and it was just like, man, this shit hard. Like, it was so crazy, because it was like he coached me through it, and I was so looking forward to that. Then another song that I wrote was 12 Feet. And so the premise behind 12 Feet is like, you know, me and my ex, we used to do this thing where we would kind of play around, but we're gauging how much is the other person invested in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you in the shallow? Are you in 5 feet? Are you in the 9 feet? Are you totally in the water? You know what I'm saying? Are you totally immersed? And so when I wrote 12 Feet in the end, you know what I'm saying? How deep are you? Totally in the water. Like, that's where that comes from. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, that was just our thing, how we used to talk about our relationship. Another song that I wrote during that time was, before then, was NASA, Space Cadet. And I made that a song. It was an island feel, and I was originally trying to rap on it, but I couldn't get the bars and stuff like that to flow on there. And so, while I was struggling with Space Cadet, at the time, Double D was like, man, it sounds like a reggae song, man. You gotta kind of make it like an island song. And he was like, listen to Drake One Dance, or listen to Drake, I can't remember the other song, but I'm listening to it, and it just sparked my creativity to we grooving, yeah, we yeah, you know what I mean? So that was a cool situation, how that came about. And the thing about it was, like, with Space Cadet, Space Cadet was a situation where she used to be a teacher, and she would say about some of her students, like, boy, that child Space Cadet, you know what I mean? Like they just real airheaded, bubbly, you know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things that was very known about my ex-wife, was that she was a bubbly person. So it was just kind of like, well, I'm so gone over you, I'm like a Space Cadet, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm bubbly, I'm airheadish, I'm just losing it because, you know what I'm saying, I'm like a Space Cadet for you, you know what I mean? And so that was going on. The next song I wrote, so Mona Lisa. The next song that popped in my head first was Doc's Interlude. And so Doc's Interlude stands for Diamonds Are Cold. But it's ironic, and it kind of shows my penmanship of me being a songwriter. I named it Doc's Interlude because I realized the value of my ex-wife. At the time, sometimes in relationships, you could get into a place where you don't see the value of the person that you're with. And then it's like when that relationship has been removed and you're not, like, no longer in each other's life, you could clearly see things where you couldn't see them at first because you were so up close. It's kind of like the picture effect, you know what I'm saying? You could be in the picture and you can't see everything because you're in the frame. Well, in the picture, I didn't see her value as much as I should have. And so when I got out of the relationship, I was able to see, like, okay, you're a woman that, you know what I'm saying, anybody would be happy and lucky to be with, to be blessed to be with, you know what I'm saying? So, that was me more in my depressive side, you know what I mean, recognizing the truth, you know what I'm saying, but also learning the lesson, like, you know what I mean, next time when I'm in a relationship, I'm going to see the good and choose to see the good in the person, then focusing on the negative of aspects of what was going on in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Things that, and it was nothing major, but things that just didn't go your way, or things that you felt like were a big deal, but weren't actually a big deal at all. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, Doc's Interlude was talking about. The other thing was 222. She was born on February 22nd. And so she was a big, it's my birthday. Like, that was her thing. Like, she would just be excited when it's her birthday. When her month comes, you know what I'm saying? When February pulls up, man, she is acting a fool. She's like, it's my birthday month. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait. It's my birthday. Every day in February is my birthday. You know what I mean? But when it's her birthday, she was clowning. So I just wanted to make it up tempo. Like, shit, do your thing. Pop your shit. Ma, like, you know what I'm saying? Do your thing. This your day. You know what I mean? And so when I did that, it was a cool record. I remember when being in the studio with Kel, and when Kel adding those drops, and he's coaching me through it, add another one, add another layer, add another layer. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, like, people were telling me that I couldn't make a bop. Like for a birthday, people were telling me that, like you know what I'm saying, man. Go listen to this, man. You know, if you gonna make a birthday song, listen to this or listen to that. Think about how it is. And I was like, man, I ain't trying to hear none of that. I know what I'm finna do. And when I heard the beat, dun, 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 you know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, boy, I'm like out here looking like a pinner. Yeah, man. Like I enjoyed that record. That was such a good song. So we've talked about Mona Lisa. We talked about 222. We've talked about NASA, Space Cadet. We've talked about Lauren. We've talked about 12 Feet. Eternity, Been Thinking About You. The Truth. And we talked about Doc's interlude. And so the last song on SongAboutK is Brown Sugar. And so that was the pet name that I used to call my wife. You know what I'm saying? I used to call her, my ex-wife rather. I used to call her Brown Sugar. You know, when she called me Doc, I call her Brown Sugar. You know what I'm saying? And it was so interesting. You know, the reason she called me Doc was because at the time I was a preacher. And, you know, preachers be like, what's up, Doc? Hey, Doc, how you doing, Doc? What's good, Doc? You doing well, Doc? You know what I'm saying? That food good, ain't it, Doc? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how they talk. You know what I'm saying? But when I named her Brown Sugar, it was just off of her complexion. And she was kind of like a brownish kind of skin complexion. And so in Brown Sugar, I wanted to, you know, let it known that, hey, I still love you. But, like, when you get to the second verse, you understand, like, I understand where this is at, and I understand that things are the way they are, you know. Even though we on different paths, trajectory like paragraphs, I still catch butterflies looking at your photograph. Like, you know, as I'm ending that verse on the second verse, I am, you know, just kind of coming to terms and recognizing, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, some things are the past and they need to stay in the past, you know what I mean? And appreciate what happened and where it was, but, like, you know what I mean? Understand and learn a lesson to move on. And that was kind of like what I felt like I needed to do for the record. You know what I'm saying? Was like, leave that as this is the end of the chapter. You know what I'm saying? So, and I even mentioned that in the verse as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Probably it makes sense why things had to go the way they had to go. You know what I'm saying? But, man, I enjoy doing songs about K. And like I said, I still have songs that I haven't released. And there are some songs I haven't even recorded that I'm sitting on. And, you know, if I do ever release those, they're not gonna be in a SongAboutK format. You know what I'm saying? It might be, if I ever did, it might be like lost songs about K, but I doubt I do that. Like, it would probably be on some, you know what I mean, something different. You don't even know who it is about, and you think it is about somebody different, and it's about her. You know what I'm saying? And it's just off the strength of like I'm an artist that don't really like to waste songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I feel something about a song, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to use that song regardless of whether, regardless of whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, it was interesting with this project, just to kind of recap, you know what I mean? 10 records, no features, strictly SoundOFF The General, SongAboutK. And what was the funny thing about SongAboutK was, like, it was supposed to be listed as an R&B album, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I was aiming for. But during the time I'm manic when I'm releasing the project, and I'm like, man, I'm rushing trying to do it because I want it to come out on her birthday, which it did. but it came out as a hip hop album, and I know that kind of hurt the views of the stats as far as streams, because you know, you go to listen to hip hop album and then you R&B, you like, nigga, what? Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, it was a good record, good project. I enjoyed doing this project, and till the next one.